One story, one savior, always true. This is Forever Relevant. I'm your host, JC Armbruster, and this is the story of the brothers' return. The famine was relentless. The fields of Canaan lay bare, the grain bins empty, and desperation pressed in on every household. Jacob's sons, once strong, confident, and self-reliant, now stood hopeless before hunger. And so they did the unthinkable. They went to Egypt. They did not know that the brother they had betrayed, the boy they sold, the dreamer they despised, now ruled the land they needed to survive. Joseph stood before them in power and authority, robed in fine linen, a signet ring on his hand, the second most powerful man in the world. And they bowed. The dreams he had spoken as a teenager, the ones that stirred hatred and mockery, now stood fulfilled before his eyes. But Joseph did not reveal himself. Not yet. Instead, he tested their hearts. He spoke harshly, he accused them of espionage, he imprisoned them briefly, he demanded that they bring their youngest brother Benjamin back to Egypt. And in their guilt-soaked conversations, Joseph heard something he had never heard before. Regret. The brothers were no longer the men who sold Joseph for silver. Time, pain, and consequence had begun to change them. When they returned with Benjamin, Joseph saw his younger brother, the last living connection to his mother Rachel, and he wept privately. But the test was not finished. Joseph arranged a final trial, placing his silver cup in Benjamin's sack and accusing him of theft. The brothers were devastated, and then Judah stepped forward, the same Judah who once said, "What profit is it if we kill our brother?" now offered himself in Benjamin's place. "Let me remain instead of the boy as a servant to my Lord." Something broke inside Joseph, and the moment had come. Joseph dismissed everyone from the room. No servants, no guards, no witnesses, only brothers and history. Joseph wept so loudly that the sound echoed through Pharaoh's house. And he spoke the words they never imagined hearing again. "I am Joseph." Silence fell hard in the room. The brothers froze, faces drained of color, hearts racing with fear. Joseph stepped closer. "Do not be distressed or angry with yourselves, for God sent me before you to preserve life." Years of suffering were reframed in a single sentence. Joseph did not minimize their sin. He did not excuse their betrayal, but he saw something deeper. A sovereign God who had been writing redemption through tragedy. You meant it for evil, but God meant it for good. The pit, the chains, the prison, the waiting, none of it wasted. Joseph embraced his brothers. Tears fell freely. Forgiveness flowed where vengeance could have reigned. And the family that once fractured over jealousy was reunited by grace. Joseph sent word to his father. Jacob, now old, weary, and bent by grief, received the news with disbelief. The words revived his spirit, and Jacob journeyed to Egypt. When father and son met, Joseph fell on Jacob's neck and wept. The years of separations collapsed into a holy moment. Pharaoh welcomed Jacob's family. 70 souls came down to Egypt and settled in the land. They were safe, nourished, and protected. The family that arrived in Egypt, broken and hungry, would leave generations later as a nation. God had not just saved a family, he had positioned a people. Joseph's story closes Genesis with one of Scripture's clearest declarations of divine sovereignty. Evil is real, human sin has consequences, betrayal wounds deeply, but God is never absent from suffering. Joseph does not say everything happens for a reason. He says something far stronger. God meant it. Not merely used it after the fact, but purposely worked through it without authoring sin. Without authoring sin. This is the mystery of providence. God remains holy, humanity remains responsible, and redemption still moves forward. Joseph's forgiveness does not deny justice, it transcends it. Because forgiveness is not pretending pain didn't happen. It is trusting God with the final word. Genesis ends not with a throne, but with a coffin. Joseph dies in Egypt. But before he does, he speaks prophetically. God will surely visit you and bring you up out of this land. Joseph makes the sons of Israel swear an oath. Carry my bones up from here. And Genesis ends with God's people in Egypt, safe for now, prosperous for now, but not home. And that unresolved tension is intentional because the story is not over. A family has become a people will become slaves, and slaves will cry out. The stage is set for the Exodus. Season 1 of Forever Relevant ends where Genesis ends, with faith looking forward. Creation began in a garden. Genesis ends in a foreign land. But God has not abandoned his people. He has positioned them. Joseph's life reminds us that God's purposes often move forward through paths we would never choose. The pit was not the end. The prison was not the end. Egypt was not the end. And whatever season you find yourself in right now, today, betrayal, waiting, injustice, silence, the story is not finished. Joseph believed God would come for his people, and he did, and he will again. One story, one Savior, always true. This is Forever Relevant, the story of God. Hey, I want to say thank you for listening to Season 1 of Forever Relevant. Season 2 will be out next week. We start the Exodus. Also, if you've been enjoying Season 1 of Forever Relevant, hey, please leave us a review. Please leave us a 5-star review. Really appreciate it. Also, if you have any stories you want to hear, let me know. All right. God bless.